The stagecoach lurched over another rut, and Clara Whitfield pressed her palm against the worn leather seat to steady herself. Through the dust-clouded window, she watched the endless prairie roll past. Golden grass bending before the wind like waves on an earthy sea. She had been traveling for 3 days now, each mile taking her farther from everything she had ever known in Missouri. Her fingers brushed the letter tucked inside her traveling case. Its edges soft from handling. She didn't need to read it again. She'd memorized every word during the long journey. Samuel Morrison seeks hardworking woman for matrimony. Ranch established, children welcome, Protestant preferred. The words were practical, businesslike, nothing like the romantic notions young girls whispered about back home. But Clara wasn't a young girl anymore. At 24, with her parents gone and no prospects in sight, she needed stability more than sweet words. The other passengers had grown quiet hours ago. A traveling salesman dozed in the corner, his sample case clutched to his chest. Across from Clara, an elderly widow stared out the window with hollow eyes, her gloved hands folded around a worn Bible. The coach creaked and groaned, each jolt another reminder that Clara's life was changing with every turn of the wheel. When they stopped to water the horses, she stepped out, breathing in the sharp prairie air. "How much farther to Cedar Ridge?" she asked the driver. "Another day, maybe a day and a half if the weather holds," he said, spitting into the dust. His eyes flicked toward the dark clouds gathering on the horizon. "Though I wouldn't count on it. Storm's been building all week." Clara nodded, hiding her worry. She had exactly $3 left after paying her passage. Enough for a few meals, not enough for a return ticket. This marriage had to work. There was no going back. By late afternoon, the thunder was closer, a low growl across the open plains. The sky darkened, and when the first drops fell, the driver urged the horses faster. Rain soon hammered the coach roof like bullets. The trail turned to mud, wheels slipping, axles groaning. "Hold on!" the driver shouted. The stage tilted sharply. Clara's heart leapt into her throat. For a terrifying moment, she thought they would overturn, but somehow the coach steadied, dragging itself onward through the storm, until finally a cluster of dim lights appeared ahead. They stopped at a small trading post. Clara dashed inside with the others, soaked through and shivering. The owner, a thin man with suspicious eyes, shook his head when the driver asked about repairs. "Can't fix an axle in this weather. 2 days, maybe 3. Clara's heart sank. 2 or 3 days meant another delay. What will Samuel think? Would he believe she changed her mind? That night she slept on the trading post floor, her traveling case as a pillow. The widow whispered prayers into the dark while wind howled outside. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the prairie washed clean and glistening. The air smelled of sage and wet earth. The driver checked the damage and shook his head. "You sure you want to stay out here, miss?" "I'm sure," she said softly. "There's nothing left for me back east," quote. 3 days later, the coach was repaired. Clara helped the proprietor's wife with cooking to pay for her meals, her thoughts fixed on Cedar Ridge and the man waiting there. When they finally rolled west again under a clear blue sky, her heart felt lighter. As the coach neared its final destination, Shep pressed her face to the window, searching for the first glimpse of the town that would be her home, the ranch where she would build a life, the man who would be her husband. She whispered to herself, "Just a little farther." The wheels ground to a halt, throwing up a cloud of red dust. Clara peered out, her heart pounding. A tall man stood beside a weathered barn, his face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. That must be Samuel Morrison. "Whispering Creek Ranch," the driver called. Clara frowned. "I'm to go to Sunrise Valley Ranch," she said quickly. "Outside Cedar Ridge." The driver squinted at his manifest. "Says here Whispering Creek Ranch for Miss Clara Whitfield. That's you, ain't it?" Quote. Her stomach turned. There must be some mistake. Quote. The man by the barn started walking toward the coach, long strides cutting through the dust. As he came closer, Clara saw he was younger than she'd imagined, perhaps 35, with sun-browned skin, dark hair, and a guarded expression. "Ma'am," he said, stopping a few paces away, "I'm Eli Turner. This is Whispering Creek Ranch. You seem to be lost." "I'm supposed to marry Mr. Samuel Morrison of Sunrise Valley Ranch," Clara said, clutching her case. Eli blinked. "Never heard of him, ma'am. And I sure didn't send for a bride." The words hit her like a blow. Before she could respond, the driver tipped his hat. "Sorry, miss, but this is where my manifest says to leave you. Company rules." "You can't just leave me here," she cried. "Wish I could help," he said, climbing back onto his seat. "But I got a schedule to keep." And with that, the stagecoach rattled away, leaving Clara standing in the dust, alone, penniless, and staring at a man who looked as bewildered as she felt. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Illy sigged, removing his hat. "Well, Miss Whitfield, seems there's been quite the mix-up. Come inside. You can't stay out there all night." Every instinct told her to refuse. A proper woman did not walk into a strange man's house unchaperoned. But the sun was already sinking, the air cooling fast, and she had nowhere else to go. "I suppose I have no choice," she said quietly. Eli nodded once and led her toward the house, a sturdy cabin with a wraparound porch and smoke curling from the chimney. Inside it was simple but clean, the fire crackling warmly. "Coffee?" he offered. "Thank you." Clara set her case by the door and sat at the table, her hands still trembling. The warmth from the hearth eased her chill, but not her confusion. "I don't understand how this happened," she said. "Samuel Morrison must be waiting, wondering why I haven't come." Eli poured 2 cups and handed her one. "We'll figure it out in the morning," he said. "For tonight you can stay here. You'll be safe." Before Clara could reply, the door burst open. A small girl ran in, mud on her hem and pigtails flying. "Papa Buttercup's better. Jake says she might." She stopped short, eyes wide as she saw Clara. "Lily," Eli said gently. "This is Miss Whitfield. She's our guest for supper." The little girl approached slowly, studying Clara with frank curiosity. "Are you lost?" Clara managed a faint smile. "Yes, sweetheart, I suppose I am." "Papa finds lost calves sometimes," Lily said solemnly. "He always brings them home." Eli cleared his throat. "Wash up for supper, little bird." As the child scampered off, Clara looked down into her coffee. The warmth of the fire reached her cheeks, and for the first time since leaving Missouri, she didn't feel entirely alone. She was still lost, but somehow in this quiet house filled with the smell of stew and the echo of a little girl's laughter, Clara felt she might have been found. Morning sunlight streamed through the small window, painting warm stripes across the quilt where Clara lay. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the scent of wood smoke and frying bacon reached her, and it all came rushing back. The wrong ranch, the quiet widower-rower, and the little girl who'd asked if she was lost. A soft knock sounded on the door. "Miss Clara." Lily's small voice drifted through the crack. "Papa says breakfast's ready." Clara smiled faintly. "I'll be right there, sweetheart." She washed quickly, braided her hair, and stepped into the main room. Eli stood at the stove, moving with the easy precision of a man used to doing for himself. The table was already set. 2 plates and a smaller one for Lily, who sat swinging her legs and humming softly. "Morning," Eli said, glancing over his shoulder. "Hope you slept well." "I did, thank you," Clara said. "You didn't have to cook for me." "Have it," he replied simply. "Coffee shot if you want some." Lily beamed as Clara sat beside her. "I brushed Clover this morning." "That's our barn cat. She likes me best." "I bet she does," Clara said kindly, grateful for the child's chatter. It softened the awkwardness that still lingered between her and Eli. When breakfast was done, Eli pushed his chair back. "Jake's riding to town today for supplies. I'll have him send telegrams, 1 to the stage office, 1 to Cedar Ridge. We'll find this Samuel Morrison of yours and straighten things out, thank you," Clara said, though the thought of waiting made her chest tighten. "I don't know how this mistake happened." Eli shrugged. "These things happen out here. Paperwork gets mixed. Folks miss our names. We'll fix it." He turned toward the door, then paused. "You'll be all right here. Lily will keep you company." Clara nodded. "I'll find something to do." After he left, Lily tugged on her hand. "Come see the kittens. They're in the barn." The barn smelled of hay and horses, a comforting scent that reminded Clara of childhood visits to her uncle's farm. In the corner, a tabby cat watched proudly, as 5 tiny kittens tumbled over each other in play. "This one's Snowball," Lily said, scooping up a black kitten. "And this is Princess, and that's Warrior."
"They're mine."
"But Papa says they have to live in the barn till they're bigger." Quote. Clara laughed softly. "He's right, but you can visit them every day." Lily's small face turned serious. "Miss Clara, do you think my mama can see me from heaven?" The question caught Clara off guard. "I believe she does," she said softly. "Papa says she's in my heart," Lily continued, stroking the kitten. "But sometimes I can't feel her there, and sometimes I forget her voice." Her lip trembled. "Is that bad?" Quote. Clara knelt, wrapping her arms around the child. "No, sweetheart. That's not bad at all. Sometimes memories fade, but love doesn't. Your mama's love is in everything. In your papa, in this ranch, even in the way you care for these kittens. That's how she lives on." Lily rested her head against Clara's shoulder, her small body warm and trembling. I wish she could come back. Clara swallowed the lump in her throat. So do I, darling. So do I. When they returned to the house, Jake was back from town. The news wasn't what Clara hoped for. I'm sorry, ma'am, he said, removing his hat. Nobody in town's heard of a Samuel Morrison or a Sunrise Valley ranch. Sent telegrams up north just in case. But for now, you might as well stay put. Clara's heart sank. That can't be right. I have letters. Could be a mix-up, Jake said gently. Or someone using a false name happens more than you'd think. The room blurred for a moment as the truth settled in. Maybe Samuel Morrison never existed. Maybe she'd been deceived from the start. Ella saw the look on her face. You'll stay here until we know for sure, he said firmly. It's not safe traveling alone. We'll figure it out together. Together. The word steadied her somehow. That evening they shared supper again, stew and biscuits, simple but filling. Lily chattered about the kittens in the garden, and Eli listened quietly, occasionally smiling in that small, shy way that made something flutter in Clara's chest. When supper ended, Lily climbed onto Clara's lap with her sewing basket. Will you help me, Miss Clara? Papa's stitches look like chicken scratches. Eli chuckled. She's not wrong. Clara threaded a needle, guiding Lily's small hands. You're a natural, she said. Papa says I get that from Mama. Lily looked up suddenly. Can you stay, Miss Clara? At least till the fair next month. I want to show you the ribbons. I'm going to win. Eli's expression softened. That might depend on what we find out about your Mr. Morrison. Lily frowned. But she belongs here. Now, little bird? No, Papa. Lily's voice trembled. She makes breakfast with us, and she braids my hair, and she doesn't get mad when I spill the milk. She belongs here. Lily, Eli said quietly. That's not for you to decide. Tears welled in the child's eyes. Then I'll pray God decides. She ran off to her room before either of them could respond. The silence left behind was heavy. Clara sat down her sewing. She's just a child. She doesn't understand. She understands more than you think, Ella said. Lily's lost enough to know what it means when someone fills an empty place. He rubbed a hand across his jaw. I'm sorry. She'll calm down. Clara hesitated. Eli, if your telegrams don't find Samuel Morrison, if he never existed, what should I do? Quote, he met her eyes across the table. Then you'll do what you've always done, Miss Whitfield. You'll find a way to start again. She wanted to believe that. Vote as she sat in the warm, lamplit kitchen, listening to the wind outside and the faint hum of Eli's voice as he checked the fire. Clara couldn't help but wonder if she'd already found the place she was meant to start over. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Clara joined Eli in the pasture, determined to help with chores. The work was hard but satisfying, and Eli seemed quietly impressed by her determination. You've got grit, he said. I've had to, she replied. The world doesn't make it easy for a woman alone. He nodded. No, it doesn't. Later, as they led a stray calf back toward the herd, he glanced at her, expression thoughtful. You could stay on a while if you wanted till we sort everything out. Clara stopped walking. Would that be proper? Eli's gaze held hers. You're under my protection. Folks around here know me. No one will speak against you. For the first time since her arrival, Clara smiled fully. Then I'll stay until we know what's to be done. Eli's answering smile was small but genuine. Fair enough. That evening, as the sun sank behind the hills, Lily climbed into Clara's lap again, sleep tugging at her ease. Miss Clara, she murmured, half dreaming. I asked God again. Clara smoothed the child's hair. What did you ask him for, sweetheart? For you to stay so I can call you Mama. Clara's breath caught. Eli, standing in the doorway, froze. The child's words hung in the air, soft and sure as a prayer. Days passed into weeks, and Whispering Creek Ranch began to feel less like a stranger's home and more like a place where Clara belonged. The telegram office sent word that no one by the name Samuel Morrison existed anywhere near Cedar Ridge or anywhere else in Montana Territory. The truth was final now. Clara had been deceived. The discovery hit her harder than she expected. Nights were the worst. She'd sit by the window with a lamp burning low, wondering how foolish she must have seemed, believing in a man who'd never been real. The world was cruel to women alone, but she'd never imagined it could be this cruel. One night, as she sat quietly sewing, Eli came in from the porch. Hellinger a moment before speaking. Jake told me about the last telegram. I'm sorry, Clara, you deserved better. She nodded, keeping her eyes on her stitching. It seems I've been chasing ghosts. Eli sat across from her. You're not the first to be lied to. The world's full of men who take advantage of hope. He paused. But you've still got a place here if you want it. Clara looked up. You'd keep me here after everything. I'd be glad to, Eli said simply. You've done more good for this house in 3 weeks than I have in 3 years. Lily smiles again. She laughs. She sleeps through the night. His voice caught slightly and Clara's throat tightened. And what about you? She asked softly. He gave a faint smile. Maybe I forgot how to laugh too, quote. They sat in silence, the only sound the pop of the fire. Outside wind rustled the cottonwoods, whispering secrets through the leaves. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of commotion outside. She ran to the door just in time to see Ellie and Jake running toward the north pasture. A fence post had collapsed, and a small herd of cattle had broken through, scattering across the open plain. I'll help, she shouted, grabbing her boots. Eli turned sharply. Stay with Lily. But Clara was already moving. She'd lived her life doing what was expected, waiting for rescue that never came. Not this time. She mounted one of the ranch horses, a gentle chestnut mare named Daisy, and rode hard toward the open field. The wind whipped her hair loose as she leaned forward, urging the horse faster. Dust rose around her, the morning sun turning the air gold. She spotted a calf struggling near a dry gully, separated from theirest. Without thinking, she dismounted and moved closer, coaxing it gently toward safety. Behind her, Eli galloped up, shouting her name. CL, don't. Before he could finish, the ground shifted beneath her boots. The bank gave way and she slipped, catching herself on a clump of grass at the edge of the drop. Eli was off his horse in an instant, grabbing her arm. I've got you. The earth crumbled beneath them, but he held firm, pulling her up with a grunt of effort. They both landed in the dust, breathing hard. You could have been killed, he said sharply, his voice shaking. Clara met his eyes. So could you. He opened his mouth, then stopped. His anger faded as quickly as it came. You're stubborn, he said finally. She smiled faintly. So are you. He looked at her then, not as a lost traveler or mistaken bride, but as the woman she was. Strong, kind, unafraid. Back at the house, Lily ran to them, her small face pale with worry. Papa, Miss Clara, are you hurt? Eli knelt and pulled her close. We're fine, little bird. Lily turned to Clara and hugged her tightly. I prayed for you. I told God to keep my mama safe. Clara froze, tears burning her eyes. Oh, sweetheart. Eli lifted his gaze to Clara, something unspoken passing between them. He hadn't corrected Lily this time. That night after Lily was asleep, Eli stood on the porch watching the stars. Clara joined him quietly, wrapping her shawl tighter against the chill. She thinks I'm her mama, Clara said softly. Eli nodded. I know, what should we do? He hesitated. What do you want to do? Clara looked toward the window where faint lamplight flickered from Lily's room. I don't want to break her heart, she's been through enough. So have you, he said gently. Clara met his gaze. Eli, I came here by accident, but every day I've been here feels less like a mistake. He took a slow breath. Then maybe it wasn't one. The wind moved through the grass like a sigh. In Thedistance, a coyote called. The world felt vast and quiet, the kind of silence that holds an answer you can't quite say aloud. Eli reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Weeks later, Cedar Ridge buzzed with talk of the county fair. Lily's excitement was endless. She'd made ribbons with Clara's help and begged her papa to come see. When the day arrived, the three of them rode into town together. Eli leading the wagon, Clara beside him, Lily in the back clutching a basket of flowers. Townsfolk waved as they passed. Some whispered, others smiled. At the fairgrounds, Lily entered her ribbons and beamed proudly when she won second place. Mama helped me, she announced to the judge, her voice clear and proud. Clara's cheeks flushed, but she didn't correct her. She looked at Eli, who stood a few feet away, his hat tilted low, hiding a small smile. When they turned home that evening, Lily fell asleep against Clara's shoulder during the ride. The sun dipped low, painting the world in golden rose. As they reached the porch, Eli lifted Lily gently from Clara's arms and carried her inside. When he returned, he didn't speak right away. He just looked at Clara, his expression quiet but sure. She called you Mama, he said softly. Clara nodded. I didn't have the heart to tell her not to. Good, he said, because she's right. Quote. Clara blinked, her breath catching. Eli stepped closer. You were sent here by mistake, Clara. But maybe that mistake was God's way of setting things right. For a long moment they stood in the fading light, the sound of the prairie wind wrapping around them like a prayer answered at last. And as the first stars appeared in the wide Montana sky, Clara realized that sometimes the wrong road leads exactly where you're meant to be, because she had been delivered to the wrong ranch. But in the heart of a lonely widower hour in the arms of a little girl who called her Mama,